Once upon a time, there was a determined girl named Jaiwoo who decided to step into a boxing gym unlike any other. But as soon as she tried to show off her moves, she got knocked back by someone behind her. Instead of giving up, Jaiwoo fought back, surprising everyone. This wasn't your ordinary gym, it specialized in training assassins, and Jaiwoo was the only girl there. Despite facing pressure from the men to do all the tough work, Jaiwoo refused to give in. Her decision to join the boxing gym wasn't just about a passion for the sport. It was driven by a burning desire to become strong enough to seek revenge for her father. Just a month ago, Jaiwoo was a high school student living under constant police surveillance because of her father's fugitive status. She faced isolation from her classmates and even suggestions from her teacher to drop out. Fed up with the constant ridicule and bullying, Jaiwoo finally reached her breaking point when a bully targeted her with a cruel prank involving a bag of flour, mentioning her father's troubled past. Jaiwoo decided enough was enough. She grabbed the flour and threw it back at the bully, refusing to hold back any longer. A big brawl breaks out between Jaiwoo and 4 of her classmates. Even though she's pushed against a wall, she doesn't give up. Fighting all by herself, she takes down 3 of them. When one of them tries to threaten her with a pencil, Jaiwoo swiftly deals with her too. She makes it crystal clear that she won't tolerate being bullied. The classroom goes dead quiet as the once cocky girls now shake in fear. They never expected Jaiwoo, who they thought was just an ordinary girl, to fight like a pro. Proving she can handle herself just fine, Jaiwoo grabs her bag and walks out. The teacher rushes in, but Jaiwoo hands over her name tag and quits before the school has a chance to kick her out. On her way back home, she felt really annoyed by the police officer chasing her. So, she decided to take her frustration out by smashing the cop car's side mirror right in front of him. The police tried to catch her, but she was like a ninja, outmaneuvering them effortlessly and making it back home. But when she got there, instead of a warm welcome, there was a cake and flowers from her dad, Mr. Dong-hun. She wasn't having any of it, though. She's been living solo for a while, and her dad hasn't even bothered to talk to her or answer her calls. Turns out, he was trying to lay low and avoid trouble. Fed up with all the negativity, she explodes with anger at her dad, blaming him for all the tough times she's been through. In a moment of intense emotion, she declares him dead to her. But then, late at night, Mr. Dong-hun pays her a visit. Just as he's about to enter her apartment, a mysterious figure approaches him. Hearing the commotion, Jaiwoo rushes to the door, but her dad holds on tight, trying to protect her. And then, tragedy strikes. The assassin shoots him, and Jaiwoo watches in horror as her father's life is taken right before her eyes. After the assassin slips away, Jaiwoo musters up the courage to open the door, only to find her father lying lifeless on her doorstep. Desperately, she tries to rouse him, but it's too late, he's gone. At Mr. Dong-hun's funeral, his friend and boss, Mr. Choi Moo-jin, pays his respects to the departed. Now, Mr. Choi is no ordinary guy. He's the top dog in the city's underworld. Seeking justice for her father, Jaiwoo heads to the police station, but her hopes are dashed when she learns they lack the evidence to pursue the case. Left with no other options, Jaiwoo turns to Mr. Choi Moo-jin for help. But Mr. Choi isn't one to simply offer a helping hand. When Jaiwoo shares her plan for revenge, he hands her a knife and demands she take matters into her own hands. Frightened and hesitant, Jaiwoo wavers, but Mr. Choi isn't having it. He slaps her, driving home the harsh reality that she can't seek revenge without being willing to do what it takes. Despite his refusal to offer further assistance, Jaiwoo remains resolute in her determination to seek vengeance for her father. One night, a mysterious knock rattles Jaiwoo's door. Terrified, she stays silent, causing the visitor to leave. But Jaiwoo isn't ready to let him slip away. She follows him, but he speeds off in his car. Determined to find him, Jaiwoo uses a blurry CCTV photo to identify the murderer. A mysterious caller claims to have information about the man, but when Jaiwoo confronts them, they turn out to be troublemakers who rob her and torment her. Before things escalate further, they kidnap her. Luckily, Mr. Choi steps in and saves her just in time. Witnessing Jaiwoo's resolve, Mr. Choi decides to lend her a hand. He takes her to a boxing gym where assassins are trained. However, instead of being trained, Jaiwoo is treated like a maid by the boys. Some even try to take advantage of her. But Jaiwoo stands her ground, refusing to back down. Despite the challenges, Jaiwoo persists in her training, becoming Mr. Choi's student. He teaches her how to strike an opponent's vital points for victory. During their practice sessions, Jaiwoo accidentally leaves an impression on Mr. Choi by hitting him in the chest during a sudden attack. In an intense boxing tournament filled with high stakes and 20 formidable opponents, Jae-woo employs Mr. Choi's cunning strategies. With precision, she targets critical areas like the lips, eyes, and even the groin to overcome each challenger, steadily progressing through the rounds. In the climactic final bout against Gang Yi, the battle escalates to a brutal level. Initially, Gang Yi seems to have the upper hand, employing ruthless tactics like choking Jae-woo with a chain and hurling her against the fence. Despite facing overwhelming odds, Jae-woo orchestrates an impressive turnaround. With a display of her combat prowess, she executes a decisive elbow strike to Gang Yi's face, rendering him unconscious. Witnessing her remarkable victory, Mr. Choi proudly announces Jae-woo as the deserving champion of the grueling match. After awakening, Gang Yi's thirst for revenge against Jae-woo burns hot. Seizing a moment when she's vulnerable, he drugs her water while she's bathing. Under the influence of the drugs, Jae-woo is defenseless as Gang Yi, accompanied by his friend, enters her room with malicious intent. Initially overpowered, Jae-woo finds her strength when her father's ash pot falls, breaking into pieces. Acting swiftly, she grabs a shard of glass and defends herself, fatally injuring Gang Yi's friend. With courage and determination, Jae-woo flees the room, but Gang Yi relentlessly pursues her. In a vicious struggle, Gang Yi inflicts serious harm on Jae-woo, breaking her arm. Before he can inflict further harm, bystanders intervene. Witnessing Gang Yi's violent actions, Mr. Choi metes out justice. He orders one of Gang Yi's limbs to be severed as punishment and finally slashes his face, marking him for his despicable deeds. In a secret meeting, Mr. Choi drops a bombshell on Jae-woo. She's now considered dead to the world and must adopt a new identity, Oh Hae-jin. He hands her the murder weapon recovered from the crime scene, revealing that a cop is her father's killer, but they have no more leads. This revelation fuels Jae-woo's determination to sharpen her combat skills. She not only joins Mr. Choi's crew but also sneaks into the police force, pledging loyalty to Mr. Choi's organization. She knows that any betrayal could mean her end. No second chances. As time passes, Jae-woo remains dedicated to her job as a cop. One day, she's on a mission to arrest a drug dealer named Park Chang-gu. Inside a building, she spots him in the middle of a deal. But there's a twist. Her lookout associate warns her that her mission overlaps with a sting operation by the narcotics department involving another undercover cop. Despite the risky situation, Jae-woo doesn't back down. With determination, she crashes through the room's glass window, ready to take down Chang-gu. A chaotic fight breaks out between Jae-woo and the gangsters, but her combat skills help her successfully arrest the drug dealer. However, her actions irk Sergeant Jeon Pil-do, who steps in and demands Jae-woo hand over Chang-gu to him. Though reluctant at first, Jae-woo eventually agrees when she receives confirmation about Pil-do's mission. As she prepares to leave, Pil-do expresses his frustration and makes it clear he wants to avoid crossing paths with her again. Jae-woo faces the aftermath of her actions when Cha Gi-ho, the head of the Narcotics Bureau, calls her into his office. Interestingly, Gi-ho turns out to be the same mysterious figure who had visited Jae-woo after her father's death. As Gi-ho reviews Jae-woo's file, he learns that she had previously applied to join the Narcotics Bureau twice but was rejected. However, impressed by her determination and recognizing her personal mission for justice, Gi-ho approves her application. This decision doesn't sit well with Sergeant Pil-do, who is visibly unhappy to see her. To Pil-do's surprise, Gi-ho announces that Jae-woo will not only be joining the department but also becoming his new partner. Later, Pil-do delves into Cha Gi-ho's case and uncovers a lead involving another dealer named Mango. They head to Mango's building with orders for Jae-woo to make the arrest. When stopped by a security guard, Jae-woo swiftly uses her combat skills to take him down. As Jae-woo confronts the goons, Pil-do grows concerned about her delay and decides to enter the building himself. Inside, Pil-do is astonished to find that Jae-woo has single-handedly subdued several men. They manage to apprehend Mango, but he remains tight-lipped about the new drugs and his supplier. While Pil-do searches for the drugs, Jae-woo scours the bar and discovers a bottle containing the new substance. During Mango's interrogation, he adamantly refuses to disclose the supplier's name, describing him as someone terrifying whom he wouldn't want to cross. The scene shifts to a pub, revealing the supplier of the new drug to be none other than Gang Yi. Despite his prior dismissal from the organization, Gang Yi has resurfaced in this illicit business. In the midst of her investigations, Jae-woo delves into the database and uncovers her father's case file. The records reveal that during Mr. Dong Hun's murder, Officer Gi-ho was engaged in a different operation. Once again, Jae-woo faces a frustrating dead end in her quest for revenge for her father. Meanwhile, Mr. Choi decides to visit his drug-making facility. The narcotics department catches wind of this intel, and prior to the mission briefing, the phones of all the team members are confiscated. During the briefing, Jae-woo learns that the target for today's operation is none other than Mr. Choi. The police have been monitoring him through hidden cameras installed in his hotel. Jae-woo faces a dilemma as she has no means of communicating with Mr. Choi. She is forced to proceed with the mission, knowing that Pil-doo's camera can record her every move. As Pil-doo heads downstairs to arrest Mr. Choi, a sudden shot rings out, creating chaos. Seizing the opportunity, Mr. Choi escapes, and a chemical fire erupts in the factory, further aiding his getaway. Jae-woo rushes downstairs to assist Mr. Choi, holding her pistol at Pil-doo from behind. Suddenly, a massive explosion occurs, allowing Mr. Choi and his associate to flee by jumping into the water. During the investigation, Gi-ho is perplexed by the origin of a gunshot. Jae-woo aids in finding a gun believed to be linked to the incident, which bears a scratch resembling evidence from Mr. Dong Hun's murder. It's revealed that Jae-woo plans to use the pistol to distract Pil-doo and facilitate Mr. Choi's escape. Despite this breakthrough, Gi-ho remains uncertain about the gunshot's source. He checks his team's weapons but finds no evidence. Angry over the raids, Mr. Choi orders his right-hand man, Tae-ju, to hunt down the culprit who leaked information. Jae-woo takes a proactive approach by calling Mr. Choi to ensure his safety. During the conversation, she confesses to firing the pistol and intentionally leaving it behind. Her motive is to uncover the truth about the gun's owner, suspecting Gi-ho. Jae-woo also reveals hidden cameras in Mr. Choi's hotel that alerted the police to their factory plans. Following Mr. Choi's orders, the cameras are disabled, leaving Gi-ho and his team at a frustrating dead end in their investigation. On the flip side, Gang Yi stages a vengeful comeback to Mr. Choi's gym, fueled by a burning desire to assert his newfound power and settle old scores. What unfolds is a harrowing bloodbath, with Gang Yi inflicting pain on gym members, mirroring his own past suffering. Tae-ju, in particular, becomes a target, with Gang Yi breaking his arm as an act of revenge. The police are called to the scene, prompting Jae-woo to visit the gym. Witnessing the aftermath, she's visibly shaken and anxious, seeking reassurance from Pil-doo about Mr. Choi's safety. Luckily, she learns that Mr. Choi wasn't present during the attack, allowing her to breathe a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Mr. Choi reviews CCTV footage and identifies Gang Yi's involvement in the assault. At the funerals of the organization members who perished, Jae-woo catches a glimpse of Mr. Choi, ensuring he's unharmed. On her way back, she unexpectedly encounters Pil-doo, though her helmet conceals her identity. Mr. Gi-ho pays a visit to Mr. Choi, vowing to pursue justice until he's behind bars. Despite the warning, Mr. Choi remains confident in his ability to evade capture. While reviewing evidence at the office, Pil-doo receives word about CCTV footage implicating Gang Yi in the gym incident, leaving Jae-woo shocked to realize her former assailant has returned with even greater power. As the investigation progresses, the team uncovers Gang Yi's previous connections to Mr. Choi's gym. While Pil-doo believes Mr. Choi will remain low-key after the incident, Gi-ho, familiar with Mr. Choi's character, is certain he won't rest until he seeks revenge. True to expectations, Mr. Choi orders Tae-ju to hunt down Gang Yi, unable to tolerate the disruption in his organization. Gi-ho devises a strategic plan involving Mango to gauge Mr. Choi's response, aiming to catch him in the midst of his revenge scheme. Despite Jae-woo's concerns about potential casualties, Gi-ho remains determined. Jae-woo takes it upon herself to inform Mr. Choi about Gi-ho's plan, prompting Mr. Choi to devise a counter-strategy. He appears willing to play along, intending to dismantle Gi-ho's plan from within. Meanwhile, a team of undercover cops is positioned in Mr. Choi's pub for surveillance. Gi-ho shares his next moves with the team, mentioning a potential insider within Mr. Choi's organization. As he sets out to meet this informant, Jae-woo decides to follow him. Unexpectedly, Pil-doo confronts Jae-woo, revealing it was a trap to uncover Mr. Choi's informant. Despite the confrontation, Jae-woo manages to outmaneuver Pil-doo and escape. On her way out, Jae-woo notices Tae-ju in his car, sparking suspicions. Both Gi-ho and Pil-doo start to suspect a mole within their team. Gi-ho begins to point fingers at Jae-woo, suggesting that the leaks coincide with her joining the team. He orders Pil-doo to keep a close eye on her every move. Meanwhile, Gang Yi reviews CCTV footage from Mango's casino, and uncovers Jae-woo's new identity. Following Gi-ho's instructions, Pil-do tails Jae-woo to the forensic service to obtain the pistol's report. While Jae-woo delves deeper into her investigation on Gang-yi, Pil-do confronts her, probing her actions. Jae-woo manages to assuage his suspicions, and they agree to tail Mango in the hopes of finding Gang-yi. Their pursuit leads them to an abandoned car factory where Mango meets Gang-yi. However, it's a trap. Gang-yi anticipated Jae-woo's pursuit and signals his men to attack. Despite putting up a brave fight, Pil-do and Jae-woo are eventually captured. Gang-yi revels in finally getting his revenge, planning to make Jae-woo suffer as he did under Mr. Choi's rule. The situation intensifies as Gang-yi's men also attack Mr. Choi. Yet, Mr. Choi's remarkable combat skills enable him to defeat each adversary. Using one of the captured men's phones, Gang-yi contacts Mr. Choi and reveals Jae-woo's abduction. Without hesitation, Mr. Choi springs into action, determined to rescue Jae-woo. Meanwhile, Gang-yi traps Jae-woo and Pil-do in a van beneath a crushing machine, their hands cuffed and no means of escape. As the van starts to crush, Mr. Choi arrives just in time and rams his car into the machine to disable it. Jae-woo manages to escape, but Pil-do remains trapped, handcuffed, and with the police closing in, Mr. Choi is forced to flee. As Jae-woo struggles to free Pil-do, the machine begins to crush the car again. In a desperate move, Jae-woo pulls the machine's wire and stops it, saving Pil-do. However, Jae-woo collapses from excessive blood loss. Devastated by Jae-woo's injury, Pil-do's focus shifts from pursuing Mr. Choi to capturing Gang-yi. Concerned for Jae-woo's safety and the risk of exposure with Gang-yi on the loose, Mr. Choi decides to send her out of the country. Despite his insistence, Jae-woo adamantly refuses, determined to stay and seek justice for her father's murder. The tension skyrockets as Mr. Choi takes down a cop who's onto Jae-woo's secret identity. Meanwhile, Gang-yi extends a helping hand to catch Mr. Choi. With intel on Gang-yi's whereabouts, Mr. Choi moves in for a showdown, unaware of the lurking police ready to pounce. A fierce battle erupts between the two gangs, with Mr. Choi ultimately besting Gang-yi, who attempts to flee but is relentlessly pursued. Amidst the chaos, the police successfully round up the remaining gang members. Jae-woo arrives just in time to witness Mr. Choi's pursuit of Gang-yi, leading to a brutal confrontation between them. Although Mr. Choi gains the upper hand momentarily, Gang-yi strikes back, viciously stabbing him. Before Gang-yi can deal the final blow, Jae-woo intervenes, allowing Mr. Choi to escape despite Captain Gi-ho's attempt to corner him. With Taeju's help, Mr. Choi manages to flee. Meanwhile, Gang-yi threatens to expose Jae-woo's identity, but before he can spill the beans, Jae-woo silences him forever with a single shot, putting an end to the mayhem. The plot thickens as Mr. Choi's life teeters on the brink, his only hope resting with an associate and a retired doctor in a temple, as seeking help from a hospital is not an option. Meanwhile, Jae-woo receives a jolting surprise in the form of a letter from the late Gang-yi. Inside the envelope lies a photograph depicting her father standing alongside Gi-ho, who dons a police uniform. Intrigued and unsettled, Jae-woo pays a visit to Mr. Choi at the temple after he reaches out to her. Their conversation takes an unexpected turn when Mr. Choi reveals a startling revelation. Jae-woo's father, Mr. Dong-hun, was not who he seemed. In a twist of fate, he was originally a cop sent by Gi-ho to infiltrate their organization. However, Dong-hun's allegiance shifted, ultimately leading to his demise at Gi-ho's hands. Mr. Choi admits to fabricating information to bolster Jae-woo's determination, hoping it would drive her quest for justice even further. Amidst the chaos, Gi-ho returns inebriated from a night out with Pil-do. As he settles down, he's suddenly ambushed and brutally stabbed multiple times by an unknown assailant. Jae-woo rushes to the scene, alarmed by blood on the doorknob. Upon entering, she finds Gi-ho in a panic, mistaking her for the attacker and firing a shot. Pil-do, hearing the gunshot, rushes to the scene. Instead of receiving aid, Jae-woo confronts Gi-ho, pressing a dagger against his throat, demanding answers about her father's fate 5 years prior. In a moment of clarity, Gi-ho realizes Jae-woo's true identity as the daughter of his best friend. He reveals that Mr. Dong-hun was an undercover cop embedded in Mr. Choi's organization. Before Gi-ho can divulge the complete truth, Pil-do arrives, forcing him to hand over evidence of Mr. Dong-hun's loyalty to the police. Jae-woo narrowly escapes before Pil-do catches sight of her backpack. Upon inspection, Jae-woo discovers letters written by her father until his tragic end, unveiling his unwavering loyalty to the police. One crucial letter reveals Mr. Dong-hun's gift to Mr. Choi, a lighter with a hidden tracker. This discovery leads Mr. Choi to uncover Mr. Dong-hun's betrayal, ultimately resulting in his murder by Mr. Choi's own firearm. Shattered by the revelation that she unknowingly aided her father's killer, Jai-woo suffers a mental breakdown, venting her frustration and anger by striking herself. After gathering her resolve, Jai-woo removes the symbol of her past allegiance, the organization's tattoo, from her chest, signaling her determination to seek justice. But the situation takes a darker turn as Gi-ho remains hospitalized, his fate uncertain. Meanwhile, Mr. Choi receives unsettling news from his lawyer. Jai-woo has been spotted near Gi-ho's residence, suggesting she may be onto something significant. Jai-woo, having tended to her wounds, prepares to leave. Armed with her father's ashes and the dagger gifted by Mr. Choi, she sets out to avenge her father's untimely demise. However, her departure is interrupted by a sudden ambush. As her assailants attempt to drown her in the bathtub, Jai-woo fights back fiercely, refusing to succumb to their brutality. Simultaneously, Tae-ju infiltrates Jai-woo's sanctuary with a lethal agenda. He confronts her, revealing the painful truth about her father's betrayal and subsequent murder at the hands of Mr. Choi. In a desperate struggle for survival, Jai-woo and Tae-ju engage in a fierce battle, each determined to emerge victorious. Despite facing overwhelming odds, Jai-woo manages to turn the tide, overpowering Tae-ju and ending the threat he poses once and for all. As the situation grows more intricate, Mr. Choi takes a bold step by voluntarily surrendering to the police, aiming to clear his name in Gang Yee's murder. In the interrogation room, Jai-woo confronts him, demanding accountability for his actions. The police possess crucial evidence, Mr. Choi's dagger and fingerprints, tying him to Gang Yee's killing. However, Jai-woo discreetly removes this evidence and alerts Mr. Choi to the changed circumstances. Meanwhile, Pil-do stumbles upon CCTV footage placing Jai-woo near Gi-ho's residence, raising suspicions about her involvement in his attack. Despite attempts to apprehend her, Jai-woo manages to evade capture, leaving the police at a loss. Returning to the gym, Mr. Choi discovers Tae-ju's lifeless body, realizing Jai-woo's manipulation of evidence aimed at confronting and eliminating him. In the midst of the chaos, Pil-do receives intel from Captain Gi-ho regarding Mr. Choi's manipulative tactics with Jai-woo within their organization. Jai-woo, despite her best efforts to evade capture, eventually lands in the hospital, where Pil-do intercepts her. He urgently warns her of the dangers lurking in her solitary pursuit of Mr. Choi. Realizing Jai-woo's steadfast resolve, Pil-do decides to tether himself to her for mutual protection. However, their plans take an unexpected turn when they're suddenly ambushed by Mr. Choi's cohorts. In the ensuing chaos, they narrowly evade capture. As they navigate the perilous situation together, Pil-do becomes an unexpected source of comfort for Jai-woo, tending to her injuries and forming an unexpected bond. As night falls, Pil-do gently urges Jai-woo to reconsider her relentless pursuit, echoing her father's wishes for her safety. But their fragile alliance is shattered the next day when Mr. Choi, infuriated by Jai-woo's defiance, mercilessly ends Pil-do's life before her eyes. Shattered by Pil-do's demise, Jai-woo grasps his gun and escapes, driven by an unquenchable desire for retribution. Bursting into Mr. Choi's hotel, she initiates a fierce clash with his henchmen. Armed with Pil-do's weapon, Jai-woo systematically dismantles each opponent. The confrontation reaches its zenith as Jai-woo confronts Mr. Choi directly. In a bold proclamation, she reveals that though she once considered surrender, she now opts to embrace a path of vengeance, regardless of the consequences. In a climactic showdown, a final intense battle ensues, leaving Jai-woo critically wounded. In a moment of desperation, she seizes Mr. Choi's dagger and manages to momentarily subdue him with a decisive strike. However, as Mr. Choi reaches for a pistol in a final desperate move, it's revealed that the magazine is empty. Seizing this crucial opportunity, Jai-woo delivers a fatal blow, plunging the dagger into Mr. Choi's chest and bringing an end to the protracted conflict once and for all. And that's where this video ends. Watch the next one and take care.